Okay, let's jump in. We're going to fly through some of this stuff because the other class is a little bit ahead of us, and so we're going to kind of move through this a little more quickly and things. Last time we were talking about the book of Numbers, and we were working with the kind of the free will predestination debate on whether God can change his mind and whether he did change his mind when he said he was going to destroy Israel. Moses prays, and then 8 verses later he doesn't destroy them as he claimed, as he said there in the beginning. Let me just turn this off and then get this down. Okay. There's certain lessons from the book of Numbers that I just want to kind of clock through, these lessons in the book of Numbers. And this is what I see from the book of Numbers, that one person can make a difference. Moses prays and the nation is spared. Moses prays and the nation is spared. One person can make a difference. Moses makes a difference for the people. Prayer changes things. Prayer matters. Prayer matters. I don't view prayer as just something we do to obey what God commands us to pray, so we pray just to obey. But no, we pray because we have things on our hearts. We want God to interact with us in a certain way. Moses prayed, and God's wrath backed off. He relented. God relented. Naham, he relented of what he was going to do. So that's important. In the book of Numbers, you've got a contrast between Israel's faithlessness. Israel's always wanting to go back to Egypt. Israel's always complaining to God. And basically, God is faithful. So God is shown to be faithful. Israel is shown to be faithless. And so the faithlessness of Israel contrasted with the faithfulness of God. And that's another big theme in the book of Numbers here. Forgiveness and yet consequences. We're in the book of Numbers, and God says, I have forgiven them, Moses, as you asked me to. And yet there were still consequences. And so it's an interesting thing that forgiveness, and yet there still can be consequences that follow in things. And then this is one of the questions we were wrestling with at the end. Is God dynamic or static? And what I tried to suggest in the book of Numbers and elsewhere in the Old Testament, that God is dynamic, not static. He interacts with his people. He goes back and forth. He listens to Moses' prayer and interacts with it. He's relationally interactive with Moses and with the people. And God responds. Well, I guess that's another way to say it. God responds. He's not just the initiator who says, I'm going to do it this way because I decided to do it this way and this is the way I'm going to do it. He responds to their interaction and things. And so, complaint versus lament. We made a distinction between complaint and lament. Let me just make this distinction again, okay? I'm not sure that I was real clear on it the first time. Complaint and lament can use exactly the same words. They can use the same words. You know, my God, why have you forsaken me? How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? They can use very strong words, but a complaint is a movement away from God that says, basically, God, how long will you forget me? I'm out of here. I don't want you anymore. And a complaint is a movement away from God when expressing those words. A lament is a wrestling with God, saying, God, please, my God, why have you forsaken me? Don't forsake me. And so a lament is a movement toward God. A complaint is a movement away from God, using often the same words. They're very strong words, but one is a movement away, one is a movement toward. Okay? So these are some of the big themes that I see out of the book of Numbers, and that's why I love the book of Numbers. I think it's a very theological book, and it has a lot to learn. Now, here is one of my favorites out of the book of Numbers. Okay? This is a red, now you say, Hildebrandt, that's not a heifer. Okay, it's supposed to be a red heifer. Okay, sorry, this is the best I could do. It's a red cow and things, but this one's from Texas. Now you say, why do you get off on these red heifer things? Israel, when they want to cleanse something, okay, they start out, things are not cleansed. How do they cleanse stuff? You cleanse stuff with water and you cleanse stuff with blood. But when they're going to cleanse, for example, if the Jews are going to build the third temple, that will be probably World War III, because there's a mosque up on top of that thing, or a shrine up on top of the Dome of the Rock now, and things. But if the Jews build a temple, do they have to be able to purify the instruments that are there? And they have right now a 7.5-foot high gold menorah. I've seen it with my eyes, 7.5-foot high gold menorah ready for the third temple. But what happens? The rabbis have approved it, but does it have to be purified by the blood of a what? A red heifer. Do you know that in Israel, this is coming out of Numbers chapter 19, do you know in Israel now they have a red heifer? They have a red heifer in Israel. It's up in Galilee. They actually have one of these red heifers. No, this is the truth. They do. Okay, a red heifer. Is that important for the Jewish people that they have a red heifer? And they've got one now. So they, anyway, so I'm sorry. It's kind of a goofy thing, but it's just in the book of Numbers. Now, Balaam, okay, or Balaam. Okay, I like this guy's name. It sounds ominous, doesn't it? Balaam. Okay, Balaam. Why did the Moabites hire this Balaam guy? Okay, and this is Numbers chapter 22 to 24. And these are some famous passages you've probably heard of Balaam before, maybe. Why did they want to hire them? Why did the Moabites want to hire Balaam? What do Og and Sion, Og, isn't that name? Can you imagine naming a kid that? Og. The kid goes to school. I'm Og. It's just like everybody. It's pretty weird, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. But Og, anyways, he was king of the Amorites, and so was Sihon, or Sion, was king of the Amorites. Israel wipes these two kings out. So what do Og and Sion have to do with Balaam? The story doesn't connect up real well if you don't know some geography, but Og and Sion are Amorite kings which Israel destroyed. What does that have to do with Balaam being called down from Mesopotamia? Why did Balak is king of Moab. He's a Moabite king. Why does he send all the way to Mesopotamia to get Balaam, a professional cursor? Now, do you know what a cursor is? A professional cursor? A cursor. It kind of blinks on your screen, kind of goes around. Stuff, that's a cursor. Okay. No, this was a guy who was actually paid to curse. He was a prophet who was paid to curse people. And like if you guys are Israel, Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, Dead Sea, this guy's Jordan here, you're Israel, Mediterranean Sea. They send all the way out the door there to Mesopotamia to get Balaam. He's a special prophet. Why did they send all the way to Mesopotamia? Would the king not have his own cursors, people that could curse for him? Why did they send all the way to Mesopotamia? I want to look at that question. And then, were the Israelites the only ones who knew Jehovah? Were the Israelites the only ones who knew Jehovah as their God? We've seen Melchizedek already, and I want to suggest to you that Balaam knew Jehovah God. That Balaam knows Jehovah God. He's a foreigner prophet from Mesopotamia, and he knows Jehovah, Yahweh. Balaam knows Yahweh. So, now, having said that, this is the map. Okay? Now, what's with this map? Let me just kind of get into this. Okay? Here's the country of Moab. Wadi Arnon, this is a canyon. It's about 3,000 feet. It's actually almost as pronounced as what do they call it in the West, the Grand Canyon. You walk up and it's straight down for like 3,000 feet. Big, deep canyon here. It's a border, the Arnon Valley. Here's Wadi Zered. Between the Zered, this is the country of Moab. Who's down below Zered? Below Zered is Edom. Edom is whose descendants? Esau's. What color is Esau? Red. What color are the rocks down here? Red. Nubian sandstone, red rocks. So there's red rocks. A place called Petra, not the group, but the place, Petra. There's a group place called Petra right here. Red rocks of Petra. Edom is down here. This is Esau's descendants. Moab is here. Moab is from Abba. From Abba. Whose descendants is Moab? From father? Does anybody remember? Lot. Remember Lot and his daughters in the cave? They produced Moab. So that's the Moab. By the way, you guys this week are reading about a Moabite woman. Her name is what? Ruth. That takes place right here. Ruth is a Moabitess. Okay, it's from Lot's descendants. So this is Esau. This is Lot. Amnon is the other one of Lot's descendants. So Moab and Ammon, are they related to Israel? Moab and Ammon, this is Lot's descendants. They're related to Israel. Did God allow them to attack the Moabites and Ammonites? No, he didn't. So the Israelites come around Edom here, and they go up the King's Highway here, and they can't attack Moab. They can't attack Edom because those are their brothers. They come up here, but who's here? the Amorites. The Amorites are from the west. And so Israel cuts in here and defeats Sihon and Og, the king of the Amorites, and they take over this territory right here. Where is Moses going to die? Moses is going to die right here on Mount Nebo. Does anybody remember? He goes up on the mountain. God shows him the land of Israel from Mount Nebo. He overlooks the land. By the way, Jericho's right here. Jericho's right here, so they're going to cross over and take Jericho. And so Mount Nebo is right here. Moses will overlook the land, and then Moses will die right here. Israel settles then in this land of Sihon and Og. Sihon and Og. Israel settles here. Now, why is the king of Moab afraid of Israel? Because they just conquered Sihon and Og, and the Moabites are afraid that Israel now is going to come down this way. And so the king of Moab wants Balaam to curse Israel. So Balaam is going to come up here, and he's going to curse Israel. He's going to come from Mesopotamia up there. He's going to come down to Moab. Moab's going to pay him to curse Israel. Israel will be settled right here. And that's the kind of the geography of this thing with Balaam.